Hey there! Welcome back to the Nauctis on YouTube. Submarines are one of the mysterious and fascinating military technologies. Although often associated with military and defense activities, submarines have a number of interesting facts that are not widely known by many people. Let's dive into the depths of the submarine world to uncover various secrets and facts that you might not be aware of. Initially, a German inventor named Cornelis Drebbel built the first underwater submersible. He constructed a submerged rowing boat that could reach depths of up to 4.5 meters, covered with a skin-like material. Next came David Bushnell, an American inventor who also built a submarine used during the American Revolutionary War. Another American inventor, Robert Fulton, built a similar submarine, but smaller, and named it the Nautilus, which was armed with explosives. Over time, these types of submarines continue to evolve. Many inventors experimented with steam, gasoline, and even batteries to power submarines. Eventually, in the early 20th century, diesel-powered submarines were developed. Diesel engines were capable of propelling the submarine while submerged. Later, the US Navy introduced nuclear-powered submarines, starting with the USS Nautilus in 1954. Submarines are one of the most advanced and intriguing forms of transportation in the world. Submarines can move beneath the ocean surface at varying speeds and depths. But how do submarines work in terms of diving and floating? What's the secret behind their ability to do so? To answer these questions, we need to understand the basic concept of Archimedes' principle. Archimedes' principle states that the buoyant force experienced by a submerged object is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. In other words, an object lighter than the fluid will float, while an object heavier than the fluid will sink. Submarines utilize Archimedes' principle by controlling their own weight. Submarines have special compartments called ballast tanks, which can be filled with water or air. When a submarine wants to dive, the ballast tanks are filled with water, making the submarine heavier than the surrounding seawater. Conversely, when a submarine wants to surface, the ballast tanks are emptied of water and filled with air, making the submarine lighter than the seawater. In addition to ballast tanks, submarines have propellers, which are blades that generate thrust forward or backward. These propellers help the submarine move forward or backward underwater. Submarines also have rudders, which are fins that can change the submarine's direction to the left or right. The rudders help the submarine turn underwater. But how do submarines ascend or descend underwater? For that, submarines have hydroplanes, which are wings that can adjust the angle of the submarine upward or downward. Hydroplanes help the submarine control its diving or surfacing angle. With a combination of ballast tanks, propellers, rudders, and hydroplanes, submarines can precisely control their position and movement underwater. Submarines can dive to depths of thousands of meters and easily resurface. They can also move quickly and agilely underwater without fear of detection by enemies. The hull or walls of a submarine are made of steel that can withstand external pressure when the submarine is at depth. In such conditions, the crew does not need to worry about running out of oxygen because submarines are equipped with sophisticated oxygen systems while submerged. Inside the submarine, there is an oxygen system used as a breathing source by the submarine crew. Oxygen in the submarine is released through compression tanks, oxygen generators, or through several oxygen cylinders that work automatically inside the submarine cabin. Oxygen is released periodically while the submarine is in operation and at regular intervals. There is also a computer system that can detect a decrease in oxygen levels in the submarine cabin. The source of oxygen in the submarine can also be produced by introducing seawater through the process of electrolysis. Submarines typically have large oxygen tanks that can be used to rapidly increase oxygen levels if the system fails. In addition to the oxygen system operating inside the submarine cabin, there is also a system to reduce the carbon dioxide content in the cabin. It's important to note that the human respiratory process is a two-way system, involving inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. In an open space, there is no need to worry about the exhalation of carbon dioxide, but in a closed space underwater, the exhalation of carbon dioxide can pose a serious threat to humans. Therefore, in addition to supplying oxygen, it is important to remove continuously exhaled carbon dioxide from the submarine cabin. This is done with the help of soda lime, Aquasorb, in a device called a scrubber. Soda lime is a versatile carbon dioxide absorbent used to eliminate carbon dioxide and acidic contaminants from the air. Carbon dioxide is trapped in the lime soda through a chemical reaction and removed from the air. Soda lime is a mixture of chemicals, sodium hydroxide and calcium hydroxide, used to eliminate carbon dioxide. This method is usually used in closed indoor environments, one of which is submarines. Why submarines can crack without collision. Submarines are designed to provide a watertight space for the crew and protect them from the hydrostatic pressure of seawater, which can be very high. Normally, humans live at a pressure of 1 atmosphere, ATM. When they dive, the water exerts additional pressure. For every 10 meters of depth, there is an additional pressure of 1 ATM pressing on a diver's body. It is reported that no diver can exceed a depth of 120 meters, which means no diver can withstand a pressure of 12 ATM. Submarines are designed to shield humans from this hydrostatic pressure of seawater. To achieve this, the hull, body of the submarine, is designed to be rigid. The air pressure inside is maintained at about 1 ATM so that the crew can breathe normally as if they were on land. The hydrostatic pressure from seawater is resisted by the steel plates that form the submarine's hull. Generally, submarines are designed to operate at relatively shallow depths. The maximum depth at which they operate under normal conditions is around 250 meters. These submarines would be at risk of denting if they are made of pliable material, or cracking if they are made of brittle material if they dive too deep. If we model and simplify the shape of a submarine as a perfect cylinder, then the dominant compressive pressure inside the steel plates of the submarine's hull is the result of the hydrostatic pressure multiplied by the radius of the submarine and divided by the thickness of the hull plate. For a submarine that sank at a depth of 800 meters, the pressure exerted on the steel plates of the submarine would be approximately 400 million pascals. Typically, steel can withstand compressive strength of around 150 million pascals. This means that a submarine submerged at a depth of 800 meters would either crack or, at the very least, deform because its strength is insufficient compared to the pressure acting on the submarine's hull plates. Moreover, submarines are not perfect cylinders, which would result in even greater hydrostatic pressure on their surfaces compared to the simplified calculation. One question that often arises in social media discussions is why the crew members of submarines don't simply exit through emergency hatches to save themselves. Here's an explanation. First, it's important to note that emergency hatches on submarines cannot be easily opened because they are designed to be more complex to prevent seawater from entering. Instead, submarines are equipped with escape compartments that cannot be flooded with water, even if other parts of the submarine are breached. If the crew of a submarine decided to exit at a depth of 700 meters, water would flood the empty spaces inside the submarine within a matter of seconds. At shallow depths, the crew might still be able to withstand the incoming water pressure and swim to the surface. However, it's important to understand that the pressure of water increases by 1 atm for every 10 meters of depth. So, if the air pressure is 1 atm, the pressure at a depth of 700 meters would be 70 atm. Humans can only tolerate around 3 to 4 atm of pressure. Therefore, swimming at a depth of 700 meters is considered impossible for humans because the pressure would be like having 100 elephants standing on their heads. Furthermore, within seconds, their eardrums would burst. Their lungs would be compressed, causing excruciating pain before eventually rupturing. This would continue to affect blood vessels and organs throughout the body, causing them to rupture as well. So, opening a submarine hatch and swimming out at a depth of 700 meters is considered impossible. History and technology of submarine rescue. Often, the extent of damage suffered by a submarine is unknown, which means submarines cannot be moved because they might break in the process. Submarine rescue technology developed in the 1960s after the loss of 2 American nuclear-powered submarines, the US ships Thresher and Scorpion. After considering various options, the US Navy developed the Deep Submergence Rescue Vehicle, DSRV, or a manned mini-submarine that can be connected to a disabled submarine to evacuate 24 people at once. The US Navy, along with the Royal Australian Navy, Iran, and other navies, followed the US Navy's lead in developing their own portable rescue capabilities. The Royal Navy developed a submarine rescue vehicle, SRV. This vehicle has undergone various modifications, including integration with aircraft carriers, the Submarine Parachute Assistance Group, SPAG, and the Scorpio Remote Operated Vehicle, ROV. SPAG serves as the first responder capability to aid a disabled submarine. The benefit of SPAG is timely assistance and coordination to prevent incidents like the truculent or 𝗂𝗲𝗀𝗯𝗍𝒻𝒄. Additionally, the main function of the ROV is to inspect and survey the disabled submarine on the seafloor, and it can also clear debris from underwater collision incidents, which is then used to determine an appropriate rescue strategy. By the end of 2008, LR5 was replaced by the NATO Submarine Rescue Service, NSRS, a system jointly developed by the UK, France, and Norway. Meanwhile, the US Navy is developing the Submarine Rescue Diving and Recompression System, SRDRS. Both systems conduct rescue operations in 3 phases: reconnaissance, rescue, and crew decompression. The reconnaissance phase involves the use of ROVs to locate the disabled submarine and gather data before manned submarines execute the rescue. Additionally, the crew decompression phase involves a transfer under pressure, tube chamber, that allows the rescued submarine to be transferred to a decompression chamber. The International Submarine Escape and Rescue Liaison Office, 𝗖𝗎𝗌𝗀, an international coordination organization for submarine rescue operations, was established with the primary goal of assisting in coordinating submarine rescue missions. 𝗖𝗎𝗌𝗀 was established by NATO and the Submarine Escape and Rescue Working Group, SMERG, in 2003, following the Russian submarine tragedy, the 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗀, which sank in the Barents Sea, resulting in the loss of 118 crew members. 𝗖𝗎𝗌𝗀 was established to provide international liaison services to prevent and respond quickly to submarine incidents. According to the 𝗖𝗎𝗌𝗀 website, at least 15 countries and 1 NATO team are ready to deploy assistance in case of an emergency call. These 15 countries include Australia, China, India, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Brazil, France, Italy, Russia, Spain, Turkey, and the United States. With more than 40 countries operating submarines, 𝗖𝗎𝗌𝗀's role is considered crucial. The organization is an intrinsic part of submarine rescue exercises worldwide, such as Bold Monarch, sponsored by NATO. In summary, early submarine operations relied on escape as the preferred method to recover disabled submarines. However, accidents and practical experience proved that rescue operations were necessary